Okay, Ray and Gary, you're up to even more yumminess when it comes to recognition. I just got this delicious message from you today. You got to tell me all about this.
Well, I assume you're talking about the frog card.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so thrilled when I was surprised because I sent you a notification saying that, we've finished the work on it and now it's launched. And I sent you a link so that you could go and check it out. I didn't expect that you'd learn it so quickly and actually send me a card. Not that you're not quick. No, I don't want to get, I don't want to go there, but I was very surprised. And it just, things like this just make you smile. Right. And a large part of why we do this is to make people's day as basically that's what I say on our site, on our employees site is basically, frog cards, a new way to make someone's day. And so we took your amazing idea that we saw at various conventions where you speak exactly, pull out the deck and we see those on the tables and everybody loves them. They just pile in there and they grab a card and they look around going, who can I give this one to? And then they walk over to the next table and give it to somebody else. And I thought, that's such an incredible idea. It's a small thing, right? It's just a compliment, one sentence. And it's just like everybody got into it. It's really, I think people are good, right? I mean, they want to pass along good vibes and compliments when they can. And so, because Gary and I had set out the a WOW program, which was an employee recognition program, and we had the same issue with taking something as tactile as those cards and digitalizing so that the staff could get it, because everybody works remote now. And we did the same thing with our WOW thing, where we used to have little pads where we used to write, oh, thank you for this amazing job. And we had to figure a way of digitalizing it, and we did. So taking that same idea, I took all of your 52 cards and scanned them and digitalized them. And we set up with my coding guy and made a page so that everybody can go very quickly to the site. And there's a whole list of cards, what you want to say. And then the preview comes up and they just say, send this person a thank you. And it's just between them. It's not like the WOW campaign goes, everybody sees it. This is just between you and the recipient, which is kind of intimate. It's personal. And it's obvious that you're not doing it for any kind of other reason than this, that you just thought of them that day or that at that moment.
And if I could just add to that, Ray, I think one of the beauties about how this complements our WOW program so well is that the WOW program speaks about, the thank yous and the wows and so forth are about something that somebody has done. But what I loved about the frog cards, and I loved about using them in Puerto Rico when we first met, and then back here in Montreal when we had our own session last fall, was that they speak about who somebody is as opposed to what somebody has done. And I think that there's a profoundness to both of the programs, but I love that it speaks about who people are. And I got the biggest thrill out of going through the cards. I mean, I'd seen bits and pieces of them sort of, in the last sessions, but when you sent them down and I looked at all 52 of them, I just thought to myself, every time I hit a card, I went, that so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, this next card is so-and-so and so-and-so. And the fact that it is an intimate experience now, right? So it is directly from one person to the other without a public acknowledgement, I think gives people a comfort level to show how they genuinely feel about somebody without feeling like, oh, if I put it out there publicly, like, oh, I'm less comfortable with that. So I think we've got the perfect blend and balance between both programs for people being able to recognize greatness in others.
Yeah, one of the greatest corners. I'm sorry, Sarah.
No, just really quickly, I was just going to say, and then I want to hear more yumminess from you, Ray. Gary, what just landed for me, and when you were talking, Ray, about how your program evolved, you took the intention to keep a great program going, and you wanted to keep it relevant and keep it evolving so that you didn't lose it as your workforce went to all bricks and mortar and all virtual. And then, oh my God, what gave me all the goosebumps, the 3 hairs I have on my arm stood right up on end when you said it's about seeing people for who they are. So you took a challenge and you turned it into an opportunity to not just keep something going, to make it better, because everybody wants to be seen, heard, and valued for who they are, not just what they do. So good. Sorry, Ray. Oh, back over to you.
No, that was definitely worth the interruption.
I thought it was
tried
an
to make it always
addition,
worth
but
This
No,
time.
what I want to add was that, again, putting things in perspective is because this does take planning, obviously.
Mhm.
And we pride ourselves, and our culture is built on the fact that we're a very human company, that we don't look at, people aren't an inserted on a spreadsheet. I mean, people are very human, and we made that very, very conscious decision. And so when you look at the history of our recognition program, you'll see that, we start like most companies. You have Employee of the Month, or if someone did a real good job, they'll get a gift card or whatever, and that type of thing. And so with the WOW program, we thought, let's do this from the point of view of a team. So it's a team program in the sense that one team member nominates another team member for doing something outstanding, wowsome, etc. And so that brought it down to even more personal level, from an administration recognition to a co-worker recognition. And this step is the third. It brings it even more intimate, from one person to another person. So we've got all the three sort of layers there, and they're all working simultaneously.
And I have to tell you, Sarah, that since we launched this, it's like bingo bang. I mean, one of the banes of my existence is to come back to my computer after an hour and I've got like 40 new emails. Except that when I see the WOW emails, it's kind of like, the frog emails, it's kind of like, oh, well, that's so cool. Like, I'm almost glad to see more emails in my incoming box now than ever before, because they will pass through an admin email, although they're not shared otherwise.
No, only Gary sees them.
Yeah.
So it's so cool.
I love what you just said, because it's so bananas. Because when I signed up, which was super easy to sign up, by the way, like that's part of also what makes a recognition program work, is you don't have barriers to being able to do something easily, consistently. I didn't have to go to anybody's help desk. And I don't think I'm a technical schlep, but I'm not like, I'm not your programmer person, right? So it was very easy.
Guilty.
No,
that's
that passes the Sarah Gary filter, then it's pretty easy system. I love that. We're the test case. And so we were able to do it really quickly and easily. And so when you have no barriers to doing it, to getting involved, you can do it more easily. It took literally seconds, and it was very easy to do. And here's the thing, when I got one back from each of you, I was like, oh, that's so nice. I literally wrote the cards. Like, we crowdsourced the card. We asked people, 2,500 people responded to this question on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. What's the best compliment you could ever receive? And in come 2,500 responses. My colleague and I looked through all of them, and we found that there were 52 main compliments, which form the deck. So you would think I kind of know the compliments. When you send one back to me, and again, my father designed them, I am quite intimately aware of what is on those 52 cards. When you sent one back, and as you say, Gary, it was just sitting in my inbox, you know how excited I was? And then I got another one from you, Ray, and I was like, oh my God, now I've gotten two. And I had just signed up. Like, I knew I just sent you one, and now I'm getting them back, and I feel elated. Like, if it can work for me, I know I'm a recognition diehard, but literally authored them. So I cannot imagine how exciting it would be for a brand new staff member who has never experienced your culture or, even met anybody. How do you demonstrate through these compliments brand new people to your organization how valued they are? Like, I bet you any money that is part of the benefit of what that you've already seen, that it builds a sense of community and inclusion with people who may normally not feel like they are the shining stars.
Yeah, it reinforces things they may have heard in the background, because part of their onboarding and stuff, they hear about the WOW program, they hear about the culture, and they see it. That in evaluations, we'll hear all kinds of compliments about the supervisor is very kind, my trainer is very nice. And then each one of these things reinforces that, because as you know, and you do marketing because you market your own company, repetition is what you need, right? I mean, that's what sticks. It's like when you're learning a language, when you're learning anything, it's repetition. When I was learning scripts for plays, it's repetition, repetition, repetition. And it's not that we're repeating the same thing, we're repeating the same ideas, the same ideals all the time. So they're surrounded in this embryonic fluid of recognition and thankfulness and gratefulness.
We also do, Sarah, we do a 4-week and an 8-week poll to our new team members when they join us to sort of, get their feedback. We ask for very honest answers. It's a safe environment when they answer any of these polls. And I'm always so moved and genuinely appreciative of the feedback that specifically says things like, in addition to what Ray said, but more specifically just about like the supervisors are very kind, or is I've never worked in a company like this. I hear that repeatedly in the feedback that we get, and they're referring to the culture, they're referring to the way that we interact, they're referring to the support of somebody who's brand new in an organization and who is trying to prove themselves to be a valued member of the organization, and to just see it and feel it, I think is, for me, it's all, I wouldn't say I guess all the feedback that I need to see to know that what we do is measurable in real people's lives, as opposed to measurable on a data spreadsheet, which is something that you need in certain areas of your business. But a lot of, for me, being a business person, being an entrepreneur, with a great focus on the humanistic side of who we are as people, as individuals within the company, within our species of humanity. The world is what we create, and we get to create our own little world here. So I love it. And when our paths crossed, I thought, okay, this is going to be a connection for me. Meeting you, and for what we've been able to work together on to build for our organization, hopefully give back to you, has just been, it's been inspiring, and it goes all the way to, I now know it goes all the way down the chain. Really does.
I love how so much of what we all believe in, all three of us, and why we have the most scrumptious conversations. In fact, everybody, we almost forgot to hit record. That's on me, because we immediately got into talking about all the yummy things that are happening at I-24, and how we have so many mutual connections to the value of this work. So we're so on the same page, because both of you live, and your entire culture that you've built, all the people who belong to your organization, it's about connecting at a human level. And it seems obvious because you provide a service to humans, right? You have high, audio touch solutions. I'm sure you don't call it this, but that's kind of how I've come to know, is that you make sure that there is somebody answering the phone, and you're there however that person who's calling needs you to show up, your team. And imagine if people had to be that way, and yet they didn't feel their work mattered. I mean, how able could somebody be to manage whatever call or whatever inbound, conversation that they need to have? I see, it makes so much sense that we have to see the humanity and the person and the relationships behind, the work that we do. And yet that's not the way everybody experiences work. So
yeah. I mean, agents, they're any front, facing customer facing job is difficult, because you never know what you're going to encounter one day to another. And I think this particular job in call management agents, they do, and especially if they're new and they don't have the experience and all that, it's scary. What we put forth again at the beginning, and I think what makes a difference in terms of our retention, et cetera, is that they feel we have their back. They're not out there on their own, sink or swim, whatever, or we're over their shoulder judging them and then making little ticks next to, oh, this was bad, this was bad. We're there for them. And Gary is very strong on this a few years ago when we started to talk about culture and all that, is that it's very important that we treat our internal clients like we treat our external clients. and we treat everybody with human. Everybody matters, and we're there for you to help you do the best you can and be the best you can in what you want to know and what you do.
We have also
We're the
said,
leaders or enablers of success. I love that. Go ahead. Sorry, Gary.
oh, no problem. I was just going to say, and one of the things as we've been building on our culture and building on our culture and building on our culture is that we have more new staff members coming through referrals of existing staff members than we ever had before in the past.
Oh my God.
And I think that alone is testimony to the fact that people, when they, I mean, who would drag in somebody from their personal life who they care for to work in an organization that they hated working in?
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
exactly. That's the best testimony, right? I mean,
Yes. You have an army of recruiters. They're called your staff, right?
Mhm.
Your staff and your
100%.
leaders are all
100%.
recruiters.
And it's funny because when I get people asking me in business, how's that working for you? With that kind of sort of doubtful kind of, like, and I just go, I think when people ask me the question, the answer is in the question. They don't really understand it. They've never experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of
And
sad, but it is what it is.
I love how everything you do goes back to the individual, the person. Like, how does that person know that they belong? How does that person know that they matter? How do they know that their work makes a difference? Not just because they know in that call, but also because it matters to somebody else. And what I really see is you're continually looking for ways for people to know at the quickest point that person thinks that person matters or that person made a difference. You're continually looking for ways to make sure that people can easily, in a timely and sincere way, can acknowledge for that person the difference that they made. And isn't that, I mean, people can say cancer culture, delayed gratification, people are attention deficit, whatever those sorts of negative things that we say about the world right now. Well, the world is the way the world is. So you're like, okay, well, if people need it to be faster than ever before, how can we do that? If people are frustrated about, disloyalty out there, how do we make sure that people know we are loyal to you and this is a great place to work? You just always rise to the challenge of what the world brings you. I love it.
Well, you're right about the world being the world, Sarah, because it is what it is, but human nature has not changed.
Oh, yes. Hear me more. Sorry. Yes.
So
I'll
right.
have whatever she's having.
So you're very right about the whole idea is if the technology and the speed at which we work and live in changes, fine, but just go with it because you still have to, you still want to connect. That's the whole idea. That's exactly.
That is I think, speaking again about Gary, is that's what he does. That's what he does best. Is in spite of the fact he's been in this business for 40 years, you think he'd be set in his ways. He's not. He lives as I try to, in a world that's not a world of should be's, but a world of as is. And you face the as is and you come up with strategies and you deal with what is and not like, oh yeah, but it should be this way, or that's the way it used to be or whatever. That's not reality. And I think what the payoff for that is that we do have a very, very strong culture and we continue to work that way because it's working, right? Because a lot of business people tend to put remember the old days? Well, you won't, but I definitely do. But the old days, when social was a home thing, work was a business thing. Yeah. You never put the two together. And there was nothing personal about work, well, we've totally demolished that because you're spending so much time with other people in a workplace that's about dealing with other people. I mean, that's what we do, as you said earlier. So I think what to Gary's credit is that he has vision, and even though he doesn't know how to go on the page and send a frog card until I give him a point by point tutorial, but he understands enough that this will work, and he lets other people grow and do what they do best, and that's leadership, right? I mean, that's what it is. So enough about Gary. I've already got my raise, so thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I love how you just frogged. You've been frogged, Gary.
Apparently. There might be a 53rd card in the deck soon.
Yes. Yes, we actually should. It's funny that you say that. I have a Fortune 500 CEO who said to me, I'd love to use the cards, but they're not the words that I would use. So I have been toying with a second deck that has the very left brain orientation, because clearly when I ask people, they tell me the feeling side of the world, right? And I do think it relates back to what you've both been mentioned a number of times in our conversation, and that is human beings are human beings. We want to be acknowledged for being the person as opposed to the doer. So I'm still happy with the fact that we have 52 compliments, most of which are about who the person is and how they show how somebody is, how they matter to somebody else. That it is a good point that in some cultures, they may be at a different part of their journey. Maybe that they're starting to see the workplace and they're humanizing it. And I'm not saying it critically, because you had already mentioned where you're at in this culture has been working on culture over and over and over. You're continually iterating. Yep. So we all have to start somewhere. And maybe for some people, for compliments to feel comfortable, they have to be the types of things that we would say in the office, like, you have a good attention to detail. I personally would be like, really? I don't think you know me very well if somebody gave me that compliment, and I wouldn't love that compliment. Other people, though, it's about what matters, and what we acknowledge is what is a reflection of our culture. So it's a little side note about, I recognize what we have can still be improved upon, just like as you're always evolving and deepening and making your culture even more delicious. I need to make my thought leadership and what I bring to organizations more accessible. So I'm not just preaching to the converted, I'm preaching to people who want to start the journey, as opposed to, and they're not quite where, this is at. So I love learning from you and where you've been on the journey. So in fact, let me back that up to a question. Let's say folks are hearing about this and they're like, okay, we need to really deepen recognition. It's been Employee of the Month. It's been, plaques. It's been once a year we have seniority, long service awards, and they want to do the next thing. What advice would you give them at that point in their journey, based on your own experience?
Did you want to take it, Gary? Do you want me to go first?
I'll let you start, Ray. Yeah. Okay.
I would say, like the WOW recognition, which is really our big change, came out of a situation where in the office we would get together, and it could be like a raffle ticket thing, or it was just an excuse to get people together over something happy. That was more personal than having an evaluation or that type of thing, and they were fun. But we couldn't do that once we moved out of the office and did it remotely. The WOW thing for me, and we have this discussion all the time because we have a WOW committee that goes over all the nominations and we discuss them, and because WOW is a very specific criteria, most of it being creative and things that make you wow. We have a discussion a lot because we have a lot of thank yous and wows that are nominated because of the work they did. Oh, thank you, Catherine, you did an amazing job on that program, Thank you, so-and-so, because you're always there when I need you to help with this thing. And we have the discussion back, so it's always alive. The discussion is done, nothing's nailed, right? It's like, as I often say, the website that I finished was great, but it's a living, breathing thing. It changes when the needs change, right? And the WOW program has evolved as well. So we have these things, well, is this a WOW thing, or is this like an administrative recognition of someone doing a good job? And we have to separate those for the WOW thing, because we have other means of recognizing people by doing a good job, whether it's an evaluation, whether it's whatever. So that idea is you need a captain to make sure that boat steered, is always going straight that way, because it's easy to devolve into a traditional recognition of good work. This is a recognition of good people, of good character, of sacrificing something to help someone else. This is what this is all about. And that's at the personal level that we're talking about, going from the WOW to the frog. So we keep it personal. So if someone's just starting this, first of all, you'd have to think about first of all, evaluate your culture. Where is it now? Because everybody has a culture. Some could be bad, and others good. But evaluate what you have. Do people speak to each other? Are they supporting each other? Do you have a lot of conflicts? And I would say, as much as possible, avoid a top-down approach. Involve the employees at a ground level and tell them the truth. Tell them that, it's important first that you guys feel comfortable, that you feel you matter, you feel that all the work you're doing, makes sense and adds to the happiness and health of the company. Talk to them, get their ideas, and because ultimately it won't work if it's top down. It they have to be invested in it. So in the same way that the WOW program is a person-to-person thing, a co-team, and the frogs is definitely a very personal, exchange. There's other things that go into that, how you train people, the attitude you use, the respect, all those things. So it's you can't do it overnight. But I would say, first of all, analyze what you have. Have a clear idea of what culture you want. So you have a place that you want to go to. What kind of company do I want? Do we want, like Friday, Gene Day, or whatever those old things were, whatever, which I find tired, been used. It's more important to tell someone how important they are than it is to have a pizza day, because that's pretty easy, right? You order pizza, everybody eats there. Yeah, we had fun. But what does that do in terms of how you feel about yourself in the company, right? Anyway, that's what I would say. I would say, first of all, analyze what you have and identify what you want.
I would come back, Sarah, and say if somebody were really looking to start from scratch or build from where they're at, I think that, and I mean, Ray mentioned the whole idea that it should not be sort of a top-down from a management perspective. But at the same time, I think that there has to be a top buy-in. I think it has to come from the very essence, the roots, the visionary, the leader, the person that people are going to turn to in those moments of crisis, in those moments of challenges, in those moments of successes. And I think if it doesn't start there, then there's going to be some sort of a disconnect.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't start there, then somehow what's underneath this program is going to be in conflict with what the program's all about, whatever your program is and whatever you tend to want to deliver it to. So you need to be very truthful in what you're implementing. So if you put something in there which is in conflict with the way that people behave otherwise, and I'm talking probably more towards the managerial side of the business, people will see it as being a false program to try and do something, mask something that's wrong. Right. And that, unless you're really genuine, I think you'll never make advances in this. And I think the other thing is, for me as an entrepreneur, I think my dad, I inherited this from my dad. I certainly practice it on a daily basis because it's something that I think is just stronger than a trait that you can hope to have. I look at everything that I look at in life as an opportunity. And so what we've discovered as we've gone through our own personal discovery in this regard is we built something, we tested it, we improved it, we got it to a level, and then we let it live its life course. And then something else comes along and it's like, oh, here's something that complements this. And so we could have gone, we could have met you, we could have seen what you have done, and we could have said it was a great experience. And, we'll see Sarah again when we see her, but we took what you brought to the table in multiple things. I'm not talking only about the frog card, but this was something that we could actually bring home and practically spread across the universe of the staff here. So I think it's also not stopping. I think the issue with culture is it's living and breathing constantly, and it's changing in accordance with what's going on out there in the real world and in your business. And I think that your my duty is to always be looking for what's the next step and how can we improve and how can we make it stronger. And that goes across the gambit of everything that I look at, but no less when I'm looking at something which I think is one of the most important elements of a successful business, that's people and people and people. And that's really what our business is. No matter which way we split hairs and what technology we use and so forth, it's people, people, and people. So so I would say never take your eye off the ball, always be looking for the next opportunity to enrich it, to ignite it, to make it exciting again, and that sort of thing. And that's it's a never ending. It's not a destination, it's a process, right?
Yeah.
I
just want to underline what Gary said, because it's so important in everything that you have buy-in from the top, from the leadership. And that has to work itself down, because the first reaction when you change anything is cynicism. And you need that leadership at the top for anything to work.
Yeah. And it's a little tip, leaders and owners, if you're out there, how much does your culture reinforce competition versus collaboration? Because that immediately is going to give you a sign that probably it's about doing versus being. And that is the bigger the company and the more we focus on targets, the more likely that there's some of that. It may not be direct and obvious. So here's a way to get a bit forensic about that is, what do you measure? Because what you measure matters. Whether we say this is what matters most, or we just imply it every single time we say, what's our profit and what's growing and how are we going to get rid of the dead wood, or whatever that is. A lot of us grew up in the time of Jack Welch and folks who was like, shave off the bottom 10% or get rid of the bad apples. And by all means, there's something certainly to that accountability piece. However, if we're constantly looking at people as possibly a problem to our bottom line, what matters most? The bottom line. How do we make sure people don't interfere with it? And actually what we're seeing, and this goes right back to one of the things we were talking about earlier with being aware and being relevant to the times of the day, is that people will not be treated as a disposable commodity. They know that they are relevant. They know that you can't iterate, provide products and services, disrupt the market, blah, 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 insert jargon here without them. So I love how you're looking for super practical ways to demonstrate your recommitment to them every day. That to me is one of the things that I noticed most about this, and why you took it and you found a way to not just make it, oh, we're going to have these cards around and we'll give everybody a deck and see, you guys figure it out. You literally said, no, we're going to make this as easy as possible for you so that you can be practicing this every day, and you measure what matters. You measure the experience of people 4 weeks and 8 weeks in. Why? Because your new people matter as much as your existing people. Anytime you qualitatively and quantitative measure what matters, it signals to everybody else what you're all about. And that, my friends, is the way your folks look at top down through the lens of their own experience versus just what we say. That was a bit of a long monologue there.
Amen to that, Sarah. Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I just want to take a second. I'm just going to slide out here so that you can see the logo. Because this is not a typical business logo. I mean, we are a very serious business. We're very serious at what we do. We've won multiple awards for our service level, awards of excellence and all that. But what this logo says, and the fact that Gary agreed with it, is that we do magic. I mean, that logo for me, I got that inspiration from Bewitched.
Don't say that, Ray. I don't want to go with any copyright infringement.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well,
but not the Bewitched TV show. No, there's
the other Bewitched. Right.
It was just this person you knew called Bewitched.
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah. But all that to say is that we are very serious at what we do, and we're very good at what we do. But that doesn't preclude that we're also very caring. And I think that's what a lot of people have a problem with when they're talking about culture. Because again, if you have an old state of mind, you separate those two things. Those are all soft, fuzzy things, and they don't really make a difference to your bottom line. Well, I think, Gary could testify that it does. but also the image that we put out there is that while we're a very serious call service business, we also have whimsy. We also, we're open to ideas. And that's the kind of the look and the feel. If you've gone to you've gone to our site, obviously, is that we put across is that we're a very human company. We have a sense of humor, we have some whimsy, but also we have hard facts. If you want good service, you contact us.
It's funny, Sarah, when Ray and I first met, because we met as friends before he joined the organization. He's told me the story in hindsight, not when we immediately met, when we were discussing what we do for a living, and I told him that I run a call center, and he told me years later when he joined us, he said, when I found out that you ran a call center, I thought, what is this guy doing running a call center? Because his image of the industry was one, where it's like a basement bottom, I can't remember what the expression is, boiler room, I think was the expression, telemarketing call centers and so forth. And he said, when I came to work for the company, then I understood the blend of your personality and how it works within the domain that can be often misunderstood. And I think probably that's truer about more industries than we would like to think. I think some of the bigger, more well-known companies and so forth, like maybe they are very successful, but maybe they're not as humanistic or I don't think it's the size of a business. I don't think it's as long as you've been in business. It's the heart of the people that are working in it.
And that's a beautiful way to, I think, to wrap up our conversation, is to say, is your recognition methodology thinking in alignment with who you are? Because it's a lot easier to keep something going if it is a reflection of who you are as an owner, as leaders, as a staff group, as a team, as an industry. So if you're on that journey of figuring it out, your recognition program will come along as a reflection of you. So I've never thought about it until this conversation, to invite people to think about, who are you? Because that's what your recognition program needs to be. That's what we want people to be saying about it. So good.
That's very clever. You should talk about this more.
I should. I think I'm going to start writing about it even. I might have a conversation with people once in a while about this. I'm interested in recognition.
Whimsy.
Whimsy. This is why we get along so well. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm going to invite you back so that we can have a behind the scenes, if you're willing to let everybody see behind the scenes of this system. But
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next time. Thank you for such a long, delicious conversation. I'm so grateful for you to share your wisdom, your lessons learned, and just to continue to be open and being a great place to work.
Well,
thank you, Sarah, for the opportunity.
It's very much reciprocated. Yeah, big time.